West African nation Guinea's military rulers say the country's transition back to civilian rule will probably take more than 3 years, a proposal likely to upset West Africa's political bloc, ECOWAS, that has called for a swift return to constitutional order. It's the first time the military has proposed the timeline since taking control in a coup in September 2021, following several more coups in the region. Joining us now to discuss the state of democracy in Africa's coup belt is head of research and teaching at the Institute of Pan-African Thoughts and Conversation at UJ, Dr. Adeoye Akinola. Dr. Akinola, good evening. Thank you very much for your time and joining us tonight here on In Focus. A timeline which, of course, ECOWAS would have wanted to have received sometime last week, I suppose better late than never, but a 3-year transitional period into civilian rule, is that something that ECOWAS would accept?
Absolutely not. And I think the coupists also understand this. And that's why they are trying to buy time, to play for time, to drag and stretch ECOWAS. They know that the sub-regional organization would not accede to their suggestion.
What would lead them to this decision? I mean, are they deliberately trying to defy what ECOWAS is trying to say to them to push their hand?
It's not really to defy. You can, if maybe that word might be somehow strong for them, because they believe that ECOWAS is just backing and cannot bite them. They know even if ECOWAS were to strengthen and impose more sanctions upon sanctions, that the military might possibly be undeterred because they relatively do not care. It's not as if they care about the population, they just want to be in power. Gone are the days when ECOWAS will have mobilized its military standby force to actually threaten the military regime, but now they know that ECOWAS is just trying to hold on to their non-coercive diplomacy, so they are not afraid of ECOWAS actually.
Yeah, you've got Mali, you've got Burkina Faso, you've got Guinea as well. Over the last 2 years, seeing a number of coups, a concern certainly beginning to rise there around this region, backsliding in as far as democracy is concerned. Why is this region failing to share its reputation as the coup belt?
If you look at the political economy of the Sahel region, comprised of about 10 countries, out of the 10 countries, 8 of them are involved in war against itself, talking about insurgency, local militia group, Islamic fundamentalism, and if you trace their history right from the days of Gaddafi, where arms and ammunition and fighters proliferated down to this region, and they have militarized and deepened the political instability in the region. And apart from the security issues, you also need to look at the economy of these countries. The region is certified as the poorest in the world, as the poorest region in the world. For instance, Guinea, with about 30 million people, which has the worst poorest population, and they have mineral resources like cement, like graphite, limestone, nickel, and uranium. But despite their wealth, the people are really hungry. They are suffering. So in that environment, and when you have tenure elongation, like the military, the civilian government that was overthrown, the government of Conde, who has stayed for 2 terms, after 2 terms manipulated the constitution and tried to extend its tenure. So once you have those environment of political instability and distrust between the government and the people, then you are writing to the military to come and overtake your government. Yeah. And that's actually what we are seeing in the Sahel. Not just in Guinea, you can see also in Mali, where we had 2 military coups within in the space of about 8 months, even in Burkina Faso, or even in Sudan. So it is like a spillover effect, and the military are becoming more emboldened because the regional organization, both at the sub-regional level, continental level, and even at the global level, have no clue on how to resolve this problem.
Yeah. Are the sanctions having any effect at all?
Yes, it is having effect on the people, but not on the military. They were expecting the sanctions. They know that these organizations will sanction them, but they really don't care. Like I said, they can stay in power as long as they want to. No matter the kind of sanction you impose, they are determined to stay in power. And we can see this in the body language of the coupists. ECOWAS gave them ultimatum which expired on Monday, and a day after the expiry of the ultimatum, he came out to announce that he's not even saying it's 39 months. It's just saying he's considering a transition of about 39 months. That's really a slap on ECOWAS.
Yeah. He's presenting that proposal to the National Transitional Council, an 80-member body. How independent is that body to act as a transitional parliament before the elections?
Absolutely. It's just a rubber stamp. It's just like a ceremonial figurehead. They have no power. Once the military is in government, there is no structure that is independent of the political leadership of the military. They are just there to rubber stamp whatever proposal, because despite the fact that they are not in prison, they are symbolically in prison, so they have no choice but to approve whatever proposal is bringing their way.
Now, 39 months, as you put it, you're saying it's just, he's kind of indicating that could be it on average. So do we know at this point when the 39 months begins and what would be happening in that 39 months?
Like I said, he has not even said it emphatically that it will be 39 months. He said between 18 months to 52 months. And he was even saying something like he's looking at the median proposal. So he puts them together, divide it, and come up with 39 months. So he can extend it to 52 months, can even extend it beyond 52 months. What he's just trying to do is trying to test his own legitimacy to say, look, let me throw this in the wind and see how people will react, particularly the sub-regional organization, ECOWAS, AU, and even the global organization like the UN. He just wanted to measure their reaction. I'm pretty sure that even if you were to declare 39 months, it's not going to hand over after 39 months.
Yeah. When Burkina Faso declared a 3-year transition to civilian rule, ECOWAS called for a more acceptable timeline, but stopped short of imposing sanctions on Burkina Faso. What do you think ECOWAS's response is going to be to the suggested 39 months?
The problem we have is that sometimes we expect the sub-regional organization to possibly perform a miracle. And most of these organizations lack the capacity to deal with this the way they ought to deal with it. So that's why they are just playing around, because if you look at it, there's no consistency even in the way they are reacting to the coup. The Lome Convention even embodying the AU, for instance, not to tolerate any military coup. But despite that, it seems as if some of the time they make it look as if we don't have a standby rule against military government. But we know that military government is an aberration, it's unconstitutional, it's undemocratic, and no organization should tolerate them. But because those organizations relatively are made up of leaders, they are just organization of head of state. Sometimes also they are extremely slow to act, and most of the time they just shout and hope for the best without actually having the coercive force to implement whatever they are suggesting. So from Burkina Faso to Mali, that's why if they had moved exceedingly aggressively against Mali, we wouldn't have a case of Guinea, we wouldn't have Sudan. But because there was complacency on their part, that's why you see this spillover. And I expect more countries, particularly in the Sahel, may join the coupist train very soon.
What's your assessment, analysis of Mali saying now they'll be breaking all other agreements with France, following, of course, the complete break in relationship between those two countries?
Yeah, the case of Mali is particularly extremely complex because even the people in the Sahel, many of the time, they are hostile to the French troops. And the argument is just that the French has been there since 2011, and the society is still saturated with conflict, insecurity, terrorism and all of that. So even the people are questioning the presence of France. But in the case of Mali, when they began to romance with countries like Russia, countries like China, even Turkey that's trying to use its Islamic ties to also strengthen its own socio-economic agenda in the zone. So they could tell France to leave because they know that a country like Russia, like China is waiting around. And maybe they just felt that France has taken enough and wanted to expand their horizon to other countries to come and explore and steal their resources. So I'm not sure they care about France's exit. It's a decision they will take and take again because they have alternative in Russia and China.